everyone, this is Steph, also known as Stephinspire with the Career Switch, which is a YouTube channel / blog that is documenting my journey to completely switch my career from a web designer to something else. I don't know what that is yet, but that's okay. This week I've been working on a very special video that it gives you more of my backstory so that you understand where I'm coming from and how I got into a career web design, that I knew from the very start I wasn't going to like, but I'm going to show you how I got into it and why I stayed in it for so long even though it was making me miserable, and what finally made me make the decision that I'm going to leave it for good. And also to let you know, today is Friday, April 3rd, which means that it's my last day full-time web design. And now, as of next week, I'm going to be officially switching a contract, which means it'll only be 20 hours a week, which will give me a lot more time to start exploring new things. So I'm very excited. Anyway, here's the video.
Since I can remember, I was always into spooky things. Halloween was my favorite holiday. As a kid, I'd decorate my room year-round with Halloween decorations, and I'd wear black and orange clothing all of the time. All of my drawings and sketches were of zombies or superheroes battling the supernatural. My favorite book series was Goosebumps books, and my favorite video games were anything that had zombies in them. I had tons and tons of DVD binders filled with horror movies, from Evil Dead to Chucky to Nightmare on Elm Street. I was just so blown away from the makeup effects. This is back when CGI was still in its infancy, and the best horror movies still used old school makeup to achieve their stunning effects. My friends and I were always experimenting with horror makeup. We practiced making fake cuts, monster appliances, and at some point we even made a zombie short film. Sadly, the footage has been lost. At some point during high school, I decided that I wanted to be a special effects makeup artist. After researching schools, I knew I wanted to go to Tom Savini's Special Effects Makeup School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is specifically for makeup effects run by the best in the biz. It makes sense that this would be the next step, right? My parents did not approve. The thing is that I had worked hard all through my schooling years to ensure I'd have my choice to go to any school that I wanted. Well, it turns out my parents wanted me to have good grades so I can get into one of the best schools to make a lot of money. Well, me being their favorite only child, I didn't want to disappoint them. We had a deal that I would go to a school they approved of first, and then if I wanted to go to special effects makeup school afterwards, I could. So what other majors were there? Biology? No. Accounting, history, psychology, or humanities? Yuck. Isn't there something I can do that is still creative but gained the official stamp of approval from my parents? Then I saw ads for a video game designer. Hey, well, I like to play video games. It sounds creative, right? That's gotta be a fun job. My parents surprisingly were cool with it. They figured a young woman in a male-dominated computer field, that just screams dollar signs. So I signed up for a video game design major at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. At that time, I had absolutely no experience with programming and 3D animation whatsoever. The first year was a big shock to the system. It was during my first semester that I realized, wait, you have to sit in front of a computer all day, by yourself, looking at code? This is terrible! We had a computer growing up in the house, but we had only gotten off dial-up in high school. I grew up in a generation where Facebook didn't exist, and you'd call your friends on their home phone if you wanted to talk to them. All of a sudden, spending long hours every day in front of a screen was a big adjustment. I at least got to take a few art classes alongside my computer classes. I absolutely loved those, and was the only thing I looked forward to every week. When I was in my computer classes, it seemed that the only thing I was interested in was making something horror-related, of course. If we were assigned to make a simple, interactive program, I'd somehow zombify it. I also signed up as the makeup artist for our college's play that year. It just so happens they were reenacting a Twilight Zone episode called The Chaser. The play also involved a zombie musical. This was so me. I absolutely loved working every minute on the makeup for the play. When the play had finished at the end of the year, I just knew I had to switch to studying makeup. The problem was they didn't offer anything like that at my current school, and I would have to transfer. A pretty big deal to tell my mom, especially when she's paying for my tuition. One day I finally got the courage to talk to my mom about it over the phone. I remember this conversation distinctly, and it is still replaying in my head to this day. I explained to my mom that I had given this video game design thing a good try, and I know it's just not for me. Now that I have worked on this play, I just know I was meant to do this instead. Do you think I can go to that school, or maybe even go to a highly credited school and major in sculpture? Her response? No. That was it. This was such a big moment in my life. I could have stood up to her. I could have told her, well, fine, I'll just pay for my own schooling and go where I want. But I gave in. I wanted to be that perfect daughter she wanted and be successful in her eyes. After a few more talks about it, she at least let me switch schools to a more broad major. This would be the digital media program at Drexel University, where you learn programming and animation, but don't have to go into just video games. You could also go into 3D animation for movies or web design. Unfortunately, this just led up to the same feelings I had before. I didn't want to be on the computer all day. I actually never made any friends with the people in my classes. I couldn't relate to them. They were always talking about the latest Pixar movie or new social media sites that were out. I could care less. I wanted to talk about the latest in horror, but that seemed to be off everyone's radar. Just in the beginning of my second year, I can remember crying in my dorm room late at night. Why did I do this? It's the same thing all over again. I decided I really need to talk to my mom again. Well, this conversation went no different than the last one. It was quickly explained to me that there would be no way I would be switching schools again. It would cost way too much money, and I would just have to finish the rest of the years out. I thought 3 years of this? That's a prison sentence. But again, I accepted it. My parents worked so hard for that tuition they had paid for, and I had to do what I had to do to be a good daughter. Over the years, my skills increased, but I feel like a big part of me was leaving. I went from designing zombified websites to professional ads that would more suit the commercial marketing world. Seriously, look at this. My first gig I got during college was designing ads for a women's wellness center where they do Botox. I went from making zombies to that. Oh, so suiting. Fast forward to graduation. I might look happy here, but this picture shows just minutes before me bursting into tears because I didn't want to go to graduation. I wasn't proud. I had a 3.6 GPA, but that wasn't from passion. That was from fear of my parents wasting their money. I wasn't excited or looking forward to the future of doing more of this computer stuff that I had already been doing in college. I knew I wasn't going to make up school. My parents weren't going to pay for it, and I was broke. The only thing I could do now was get a job as a web designer. Just a few short weeks after graduation, I landed my first job as a front-end web developer in Asheville, North Carolina. It was for a web firm that made websites for big furniture companies worldwide. Everyone was telling me how lucky I was to get a job right after college that paid a good salary. Because of this, I felt that I had to stay. I should be grateful, but my body was telling me otherwise. I started getting panic attacks on a weekly basis. I would come home in tears. It wasn't even that the job was that horrible. It would actually be considered quite nice for someone who really wanted to be a web designer. But for me, I felt empty, numb, and like I was losing a sense of who I was. No matter how many sites I made, they all looked the same to me. The project was always the same concept. Make a clean, minimalistic website that pushes the big sales. I didn't feel like my creativity was being touched upon that much at all. I didn't like it one bit, but I dare not tell my parents. I've complained enough. I should just pretend I love my job and everything's dandy. But every now and then it would slip out that I didn't like my job. My parents seemed disappointed in me. They told me to just keep at it and eventually I'll like it. The only thing that kept me going through this tough time was that my wonderful husband stayed by me, both during college and my first job. Even though I had been miserable most of the time, he still wanted to be with me for some reason. We ended up getting married in July 2011, and we adopted 3 wonderful dogs and cats that kept me company at my time of need. We were also really falling in love with the town that we ended up in, Asheville. It is a small town up in the mountains known for its nightlife, art galleries, and nature hikes. After 2.5 years of cubicle life and sheer boredom, I quit. I figured I had saved enough money so that I can stand not working for a while and wanted to try something else out. I decided I wanted to start my own painted furniture business. I basically would take old beat-up furniture, repurpose it, and paint cool designs matching a customer's needs. So here's some stuff that I did. I absolutely loved the business concept. I loved painting every day. I expected the business to be slow in the beginning, but truthfully, I don't think it ever picked up. I think the main problem was that painted furniture isn't exactly a common service that someone buys. It's not like someone would typically go online and search for local artists that paint furniture. I ended up spending thousands on marketing, from doing a wrap on my van, Google ads, business networking fees, you name it. But at the end of the 1 year, I ended up losing a ton of money. I dreaded going back to web design, so my thought process was then, well, if I can't make money as an artist, I might as well spend my time helping people. I decided I was going to become a certified nursing assistant. I apologize for the stock photos, but I don't have any ones of me during this time since it was so short. My local college was offering a course that was only a few months long and would cost just a few $100s. So I signed up figuring if I ended up hating it, it's not too much money or time lost. I ended up really liking the program and learned a lot. Of course, we were working with mannequin dummies the whole time, so I couldn't get the taste of a real experience until towards the end of our course when we got to assist at a real-life nursing home. Even there, it was a pretty positive experience. I thought to myself, what a wonderful job. I get to hang out with these residents all day, make them laugh, read them a book, throw ice cream parties. And sure, every now and again I will have to help them go to the bathroom, but someone's got to do it. Upon graduating and getting certified, I was really excited to start my new career at a nursing home. I ended up getting hired at a place just 5 minutes down the road, and everything seemed to fall into place. That is until reality sinks in. Apparently, my internship experience was very much different than real day-to-day work experience. Apparently, it is quite common for the nursing director to assign too many residents to your shift. You're constantly running around changing people's briefs and giving them showers that leaves you little to no opportunity to spend personal time with them. The other unexpected thing that happened was that I became a bit of a germaphobe. Now I know what you're thinking, didn't I expect to be around germs in a nursing home? Well, sure, but there are systems in place to prevent the spread of diseases, the biggest of which are gloves and washing your hands every time you touch a resident or resident's belongings. I knew I was good at doing this, but I wouldn't think of how it would be if my coworkers weren't. I saw many times of coworkers failing to prevent contamination. In many cases, it was obvious that they should have used gloves to touch certain things and that they did not wash their hands afterwards. The other thing I noticed was that I couldn't relate to any of my coworkers. They were all women for some reason and all seemed to have completely different interests than I did. There was literally nothing to talk about, not even a common TV show that we watched. The last straw was when they hired a new director. She always made me feel terrible about the tattoos on my arms and made me feel very self-conscious about them. There was nothing in the policy that I could get fired over it, but she did make my life a living hell until I eventually quit. After what I call failing at being an artist and a nursing assistant, I fell into a deep depression. Due to money needs, I had to force myself to do some freelance web design work. Another venture I would soon learn I did not enjoy. I tried to make it a little more interesting. I taught some classes on WordPress, and I even made some discounted websites for animal shelters to make me feel a little more fulfilled in my work. But it didn't matter. At this point, I hated being near a computer and never wanted to look at any other piece of code again. Sadly though, coding is all I knew. I felt so lost. My depression grew even deeper. I felt devastated. I felt like a failure. I felt that I couldn't be good at anything besides web design. I started going to group therapy and then one-on-one therapy. I was prescribed antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. After months of intense counseling and medical bills piling up, I decided it was finally back to web design full-time. It was my worst case scenario, but I figured it will force me to get out of the house and to go socialize once again with others. It was something that I had tried avoiding for so long, but I had no choice. I had no other skills. I couldn't even get a job as a waitress if I wanted to. I was, quote, overqualified. I got another job as a developer in an office cubicle. I would be there for an entire year. Every day I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm 27 years old, more than a quarter of my life is over, and I have made no progress, just failures. I am no more interesting of a person than I was before when I first graduated. I have no new hobbies or skills, and in fact gotten worse with the ones I did have. I've lost all motivation to paint, to do anything really. I believe that I'm just meant to be a machine that makes money. I saw the company I work for as just dollar signs. I was using them for my paycheck, and they were using me to make more money with their product. I wanted to just be on autopilot. Towards the end of last year, I switched to going to one-on-one therapy once a week. I had avoided this before because it was so expensive, but I decided it's now something I need to do, now or never. In therapy, I was taught that it's my life, it's in my control, it's okay to want something else. It's now or never, and I'm the only one who can change things. I can't wait around for something to change me. I can't make excuses as to why my life has to stay like this. I'm either letting it stay like this, or I need to make a change. It's as simple as that. I decided that I was no longer going to let my parents or money rule my life. My happiness is most important. Yeah, I have no idea what else is out there, but I don't care. I can't imagine myself years down the road without making any changes. So I started in the method I learned called acting opposite. At the time, I felt tired, depressed, and lacked motivation. Because of this, I was going to act opposite, and I decided that I was going to start going to the gym. I also joined a hoop class, as well as an aerials class and a trapeze class. I was waking up every day feeling a little more alive. And the more I was feeling alive, the more and more I realized I really need to leave web design for good. Just recently, I had put in my notice, and I'm now switching to contract hours. This is so I can still make a bit of money while I explore new things. I feel like I've been locked up for so long. Everything in the world feels so new to me now because I've been lost in depression. Even though my backstory was a little sad with struggles, my experiences have taught me a ton. I've learned that you gotta stop playing the victim. You're the only one that can change your life. You're either gonna do something or nothing is gonna change. I've also learned that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can ease yourself into things without completely jumping in 100%. I certainly learned that lesson from my past job attempts. Perhaps if I started painting again, I could do a few hours a week. Maybe post my artwork somewhere on Craigslist and see if it sells. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't need to go around spending thousands of dollars on marketing just to let people know that I paint. I also don't have to jump into school right away if I am considering a certain type of career. Most importantly, I learned that any sort of change is taking a risk, but you need to weigh the pros and cons to see if it's worth it. True, I will make a lot less money when I leave this job, but it will get me that much closer to something that will make me a lot happier. So the question is, what am I going to do now? Well, you might ask, why not special effects now? Well, that is a possibility. That does not mean the next step is selling my house and moving my family to Pittsburgh so I can go to school there. I can start slowly. I can try out some makeup on the side, learn basics from YouTube. Eventually, if it feels right, I have the option of going to school. I shouldn't rush to get there. I need to allow the journey to continue to shape me into the person I want to be. And honestly, I do have doubts that it might not be the right thing for me now. I like my small town peaceful life, and I honestly don't see myself moving to LA and working on movie sets. I may end up staying here and continue to work on my artwork. Although being a nursing assistant wasn't for me, I still enjoyed a lot of aspects about the job. So helping people can still be a big part of my future. I'm also getting really into fitness. In fact, the first set of online classes I want to take are related to fitness. I also made friends with a fitness trainer at a gym and can pick her brains every now and again. I have no idea where that's going to lead, but I gotta take a first step somewhere. It's impossible to plan your whole life out to a perfect image you might have in your head. Just continue to explore and gravitate towards the things you like. I cannot tell you how important it is to just keep going. You'll experience setbacks. You'll go down a path and realize it's not for you. So then just turn around and find another route.
So that was the video. I hope that gives you a better sense of what I'm doing with this whole YouTube channel, and you should expect more things to come. So starting next week, since I'll be contract, I'll be doing a lot more interesting stuff now, and I have some things in the works that I'm going to be working on that I'll be sure to put on YouTube. I want to leave you with one last piece of advice. So this journey, whatever journey you're on, whether it's career, whether it's some sort of weight loss or love, whatever it is, it's your journey. It's your journey alone. And so it's important to remember that all the decisions are your decisions, no one else's. And so never let others make decisions for you. They might be doing it out of love, they might be thinking it's the best for you, but it's important that you have to be in complete control. All right, I hope that helps. Bye.